Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be doing a restoration on the one and only ideal Tammy doll.
T-A-M-M-Y, Tammy! Who leaves a cheer for every touchdown? Tammy, the ideal team. Who is the life of every party? Tammy, the ideal team. Who steals the scene round the swimming pool? At her desk every day at school.
It's Tammy.
Tammy, she's a doll, she's ideal, she's sweet 16.
You'll love to dress Tammy, Ideal's new doll. Now you can buy clothes and accessories for her that are really in. Look at her skis, and she wears sneakers or high heels. She has a typewriter, a TV set, a camera, and a poodle. Dress Tammy in the clothes you like best. There's 20 different outfits.
It's Tammy, Tammy, she's a doll, she's ideal, she's sweet 16.
We will be discussing everything about her, and we also will be doing a very thorough cleanup job. So if you do find a Tammy doll out in the wild, as they are pretty common to find for a very good price, you will be able to tackle her and make her look fabulous, darling.
Mold!
I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I want to make a nice little announcement. I want to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed. We have hit 3,000 subscribers. When I started this channel back in April, I did not think that I would be at this point where I am right now, so I cannot be any more grateful and thankful that you all are here and you all tune in every single week and you all share and subscribe and like and comment. I just want to say thank you all so much for being so supportive and being here with me through this entire journey. So like I said, in this video, we will be talking about the ideal Tammy doll. Before we begin, I just want to say that I am not a Tammy expert. I am not a Tammy doll expert. If you are looking for Tammy doll experts, they are out there. The collectors, they're very nice that I found. She is a very niche doll, and I love niche dolls and I love niche vintage dolls. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for being here. I hope you all enjoy the video. Oh, Tammy, what can be said about Tammy?
Who is the girl with the twinkle in her eyes? It's Tammy, the ideal teen.
Tammy was a doll made by Ideal in 1962. She was obviously made to compete with Mattel's Barbie doll. And this was not Ideal's first venture into competing with Barbie. The first Ideal doll, in my opinion, that would be a competitor to Barbie would be the Carol Brent doll. She was made as if a Barbie and a Miss Revlon doll had a baby. That doll was not successful whatsoever, and they tried to sell her with many different names, but it just wasn't working. So after her, they created the Mitzi doll, and if you're familiar with my channel, you will have already seen that I have already restored a Mitzi doll. And as we went over, she too was not successful. They tried to replicate a formula as they have done in the past, where they take a doll who's popular, they make a doll who's similar with the same selling points, and then they take over the market because they are a larger company, which in turn puts them ahead of the game. However, this time around, they underestimated their competition. As they weren't dealing with the same companies that they had dealt with before. They were dealing with a new company, Mattel, who at that time, like them or love them, were a juggernaut in the toy industry. They almost seemed to come out of nowhere, and by the time that they released the Barbie, they were set. They hit the ground running. The other toy companies really had no idea what was coming, and they could not keep up with the level of detail that Mattel was providing with the Barbie doll. As at that time, most of the toys in America were made in America, and they were particularly made in New York. Barbie, however, was made in Japan. Therefore, the cost to make her was much less than what it would be if she were made in America, which meant they were able to give her the level of quality that they strive for, and then they were still able to make a profit. Barbie herself was gorgeous, but her fashions were truly the real superstar. They were made with real furs, brocades, satins and silks, velvets, cottons, and denims. And some were even made with a new fabric on the market, polyester, which now we scoff at. However, at that time, that was the most expensive fabric on the market. Level of detail and quality, again, was unmatched. match, which meant no matter how hard the other toy companies tried to reproduce Barbie's success, they were just too late to the party. Because if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. If it do break and be busted, you just watch Disney Barbie Girl. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is just so that you can understand why those other dolls just didn't work. Simply could not replicate what Mattel had to offer. And since there truly was no need to have another glamorous teenage fashion model on the toy shelf, maybe there was a demographic that Mattel just couldn't reach. As you see, not everyone was a Barbie fan. Even in her early years, Barbie was criticized for her looks and her figure. Something that truly will never change, as some of us are very insecure in our own bodies. Which, if you were ever concerned about your figure and you are comparing it to a plastic doll, just don't. These are caricatures of people. You don't want to strive to be a caricature, because a caricature is a copy. You want to strive to be original, so you be originally you. But I digress. There were a market of people who just simply were not getting the fashion doll that maybe they would want to play with. Girl next door, so to speak. Because Barbie's a lot of things, but let's be honest, she's not a girl next door. That, my friends, is where Tammy comes into play. Tammy was the girl next door. She was the same size as Barbie, but obviously had a more childlike appearance, which made her look more like a teenager than Barbie, who looked more like an adult. Tammy had a different type of a body. She was a lot thicker than Barbie, and she had bigger and flat feet. Just a little bitty arch for a little kitten heel. She was much less threatening than Barbie. This was a girl who you could find next door, not on a runway or on the cover of Vogue, but a girl maybe you went to school with, or a girl who was dating your older brother. And speaking of figures, this doll had a very flat chest, which again led to the discussion that she was indeed a teenager. Ideal had finally found a worthy competitor to Barbie. So much so that Mattel made their own girl next door.
Surprise! It's Midge!
Yes, we welcome Midge into the fashion doll arena. Midge, although she was the same body as Barbie, more wholesome and sweet cutesy face, and also had that stylish page boy that even Tammy was sporting. She too was a quintessential teenage doll, and unlike Barbie, who was marketed as a fashion model, Midge was marketed as Barbie's best friend. She was not a model, although she could be, but she was finally their answer to having a more girl next door. Their answer to the Tammy doll. Midge sold very well. You still find them today at some really good prices. Barbie, on the other hand, well, she's up there. Although Midge is looked upon as an accessory to Barbie by some collectors, I like to look at her as her own individual. And sure, she's not my favorite doll, but she still is a part of fashion doll history. But back to the doll at hand. Tammy. At the end of the day, Tammy was a fashion doll. In her initial launch, she did launch with 20 different fashions. Later on, just as Barbie, she came out with family members and a boyfriend. And she came out with the occasional new fashions. Something I've noticed from Tammy's fashion catalog, her stuff relatively stayed the same throughout a number of years. Whereas Barbie, every other year, would switch it up and come out with completely new fashions. Tammy was not able to get the same level of detail as Barbie was in her fashions, but they were still being made with high quality fabrics and little details, not as many as Barbie. Which makes sense. This is supposed to be a teenager, not a fashion model. Although they did come out with a play set with a real working camera where you could make Tammy a real fashion model, which was really cool. Tammy was a very successful competitor to Barbie. And just like how Barbie had different clones and bootlegs of her, so did Tammy. They were also Tammy-like dolls. Horseman Toy Company was making a lot of those, with their famous Mary Poppins doll. Mary Poppins happens to be my favorite movie ever, so I definitely love these dolls. Reliable Toy Company were making their own version of Mary Poppins, but this time they were using the exact Tammy mold. These are some dolls that are on my wish list, as I never come across them. Those aren't the only ones to use the Tammy mold to make Mary Poppins dolls. Company Pedigree used Tammy's molds to make Mary Poppins as well, but I'm sure you know that's not the only thing they made with Tammy's mold.
You've got Cindy.
Yes, we have Cindy, the doll you love to dress, which was the same exact slogan that Ideal used for Tammy, which is great marketing for the doll and her fashions. Although Tammy did moderately well in America, Cindy took England by storm, and there are some iterations of her that are still being sold today. Tammy's mold was even being used in the 70s throughout clones, which goes to show the mark that she had left in the toy industry. She did very well until, well, she didn't. Barbie over time throughout the 60s got even more glamorous and had even more levels of detail in her fashions, as well as getting a new body where she could bend her legs. She was more poseable and more beautiful than ever. Ideal decided it was time for Tammy to grow up. It was time for her to get a new and glamorous image. She also got a new friend who was a beautiful hair play doll. Her name was Misty, and she's my favorite from the Tammy family. I just think she's so pretty. They also came out with an African American version of Tammy. Although in my opinion there was a lot of positive change happening to Tammy, I'm sure it alienated the old Tammy fans because now she more closely resembled a Barbie doll. And in 1967, the Tammy doll was discontinued. Tammy is an integral part of fashion doll history. When you speak of 1960s fashion dolls, you always speak of Barbie and you always speak of Tammy. She was a doll who seemed to be a little bit more inclusive and a little bit more reachable than the Barbie doll. She's a doll who really got to live a different life over in the UK. She became their fashion doll standard. I was introduced to Tammy very early on in my collecting, and there's something about her that I've always loved. Although I'm still a Barbie girl through and through, I do see something special and fun in Tammy. It's a completely different vibe than Barbie. She's just very cute. And although I can see why she didn't make it in the fashion doll industry, I still think she left a mark through the children who played with her and through the collectors who love to collect her. She's a very fun doll and gives a nice variety to your toy collection. So treat yourself this Christmas. Get a Tammy and let me know down in the comments what you think of her. Well, I mean, Ideal said it enough whenever they said she's the doll you love to dress. And this is a very well used and loved doll, I would say. This is Ideal's Tammy doll from 1962. And we can totally get a look at her, and we just know she's filthy.
He's not a Christian!
I found her in, again, that Goodwill doll lot that I just uploaded. And yeah, I decided that it would be nice to go ahead and go over Tammy and tell you what she's all about, as well as how to fix up your Tammy dolls, because they are very seldom found like this. I have found numerous Tammy dolls just like this. And so since she was the one that inspired me to purchase that whole lot, she is going to be the one that we are focusing on today. If you are interested in how I clean my dolls, I do have a separate playlist for that. It's under doll restorations and tutorials. There you will find all the tutorials based upon your specific restoration needs. If there's ever a point where I'm not explaining what I'm doing, it's probably because I've done it in several other videos. So if there's something that you want to learn more about, go ahead and go on that playlist, doll restorations and tutorials. All my dolls, no matter how dirty they are, always get a dish detergent bath with baking soda. It just really gets off the set in dirt and grime, especially from these vintage dolls. In most cases, they're already way past the point of just needing soap and water. Usually that dirt is really caked in. I also like to use dish detergent for the hair, and when a doll is extra dirty like this, I will wash its hair at least 3 times, because sometimes you find mold and other things hiding underneath the hairline. So just make sure that you are very thorough in your cleaning. With these older dolls, I'm a little bit more careful whenever I go around their painted details, such as their face, because sometimes that can get really flaky and then it can flake off as you wash it, which would really suck if you are not good at repainting dolls. This doll will need to get a slight touch up in the paint department, so continue watching and maybe I can help you improve on that. These vintage dolls are a part of my passion and I just absolutely adore them. I just can't seem to get enough whenever it comes to learning all about them. And I think that's why most of my restorations are very successful. When you are learning about vintage dolls and vintage toys particularly, you're learning about their historical significance. You want to learn about why they are made the way they are, what their uses were for, how they were used, and how they were played with. That really helps you have a better understanding about what you are dealing with. That way you are able to add to the historical integrity of the item that you are restoring instead of taking away from it. I like to look at restoration as restoring a piece of art. As a conservationist, you never want to take away from the original integrity, like painting over paint, or adding something that wasn't originally there, or just painting over it completely. You want to add the paint where the paint needs to be added. So if you have a crack or you have a chip, you repair and you paint that, but you leave everything else alone. That way the original artist's vision can be still seen and it can be preserved. When I repaint, I like to use acrylic paints. and before I use them, I will dilute them with water. You never want to use paint straight from the pot. It will be way too streaky whenever your paint dries. The face paints were airbrushed on originally, so if you would like to get that airbrushed look, you will have to dilute your paint. And it's going to be annoying. You will have to do it in layers. Sometimes that means you're going to have to let it dry. It's best to take your time, and remember, do not get discouraged if things don't go the way that you planned. As I said, these dolls were originally airbrushed, and even they sometimes messed up. And depending on how bad it was, the factory would still sell it and your doll would just have a unique personality. So maybe now your doll has a very unique personality. But because they were using stencils, that meant each layer of the doll's paint was very precise. We don't have stencils, which means again, if you do make a mistake, do not get discouraged, just try again. If you painted something and you don't like the way that it looks, you can get some rubbing alcohol and put it on a Q-tip, and then you can wipe whatever you painted off the doll's face. Depending on how bad your doll is, sometimes that will take off your doll's face paint, but in most cases it will be fine, especially if you do it gently and you don't rub it harshly. And just think about this. These dolls are troopers. They are 60 years old, and if they have made it this far, chances are they're going to keep on making it, especially if you give them some good TLC. Right here I'm adding just a little bit of white where the white has rubbed off, and she has a little speck of gray blue iris missing, so I'm going to go ahead and mix some paints and make that color. When painting, I try to make the perfect shade as close as possible. I never try to deviate from what was originally there because there's a rhyme or reason as to why they chose that particular shade of blue. And after that, I would say that we are done with her face. Tammy's face is very unique. She's just a very cute doll. Ideal was still painting their dolls' faces like they did in the 1950s with very loud red lips and very loud cheek coloring. I personally love that much blush on a doll. Some collectors like to call it slap cheeks. I think it looks very much like a cheesecake pinup. Let's go ahead and do her hair. All right, so let's go ahead and do her hair. So I will give you a little bit of a warning whenever it comes to Tammy's hair. She kind of has a mullet going on. So you see like her frame of the face, all of this is short hair. And at the top, it's layered and then goes all the way down. And the longest bits are actually rooted towards the nape of the neck right here. So it's very much a mullet. Now, what they were trying to do with this hair is make a page boy hairstyle. So that's what we're going to go for today. So the curlers that I'm going to use are not the typical curlers. These are pipe cleaners. Now, you may find pipe cleaners like at Walmart, just like anywhere. It doesn't even matter what color they are. You've got some pretty long uses out of your pipe cleaners if you do use them. Like this one, for instance, like it does look kind of rusty, but I've had it for like 2 years. You know what I mean? So you can get a lot of life out of these pipe cleaners. So don't be misconstrued that you won't. So as you can see here, we're going to start on this side over here. Now I am doing this to completely dry hair. You can do it with wet hair. You could do it with dry hair. It is really what it is. Again, you are going to find these long bits kind of like in with the short bits. Try your best to get them away from the face. Now these are still pretty curled right here. Do you see? Like they still got like a little bit of curl left in them. I'm not like too concerned about this part of the face, like of the hair, because if you look face on, like it doesn't look like it shouldn't be there so far as like, you know, that looks like Tammy's usual hair. It's like this side, like right over here, like where you can see like a big deviation over here, where the hair gets shorter right here where they cut the bangs, and it has more long bits in it than short. So again, I'm going to brush out the short bits if I can from the long bits, like so. Okay, so here we go. The way I'm getting rid of these is I'm just combing down. There we go. All right, so we're going to get some of our perm papers, paper towel rolls, and I'm just going to go under like so. Again, like this is not the easiest hairstyle to do. I'm going to get however much hair I can actually get in this little perm paper. So I've got that much. I'm gonna go in with my little curling pipe cleaner and just start to curl under. So with all of these, you don't want to curl up, you want to curl under, and that's with all of her hair because this is a page boy. And if we're going for the page boy hairdo curled under, not over. That was a hair flip. And she didn't really have a hair flip. She had, like I said, page boys. So that part of her hair will be nice and curled. Now her bangs, for instance, to me, I just feel like her bangs can just be, because they're still bouncy, they're still going on. Like, she has very nice quality saran hair, so her hair is really a trooper, honestly, and really a testament for how like high quality Tammy had originally. So again, like with this side, like it's not bad. It could be a little bit more curly. So I'm going to go in with the perm paper right here. There we go. Fold over like so. Okay. Go in with the pipe cleaner, curl under. You know, it's easy today to think that this doll was not a phenomenon because of how it just really didn't have the longevity of Barbie. But, you know, it really was quite a successful doll when it first hit the scene. It wasn't Barbie, but it was something. It was a alternative. So if you didn't really like Barbie that much, you could go and get a Tammy doll, which I know a lot of parents did, especially like more conservative parents. They definitely got their children Tammy. Okay, so we've got Tammy right here. She's gonna be a little bit harder to do just based upon like how her body is. But yeah, you see like how it's rooted there? Look at that, you can still like see some scalp going on right there, some skin, gross. Okay, so we're gonna start actually just right back here. Now, before I really start like doing hairstyling on Tammy, I will just add a note. I have already boil washed her. I tend to boil wash hair before I put any curl into it. And that is just so that I can get the most seamless look. Okay, so we've got this right here. Gonna go down, take a pipe cleaner, curl under. Again, remember to curl under. It's going to give us the desired look that we want, and then afterwards we will style it how it all should be. Okay, so we've got one done. Now let's go to this next one. And remember too, like this doll is supposed to have curly hair. Tammy had voluminous curly hair. That was like her thing. She had more hair than Barbie. And I'm gonna be honest, like she's cute. Tammy is really cute. I've always loved Tammy. I've always thought that Tammy looked really special. Do I think that I would choose Tammy over Barbie? No. You know, if it came down to it and I could only have one doll, which would be so terrible. But if I could only have one, I would choose Barbie. But what Barbie? That's the question. I'm not too sure about what Barbie I would choose. Let's see here. There we go. Curling under for the page boy. Okay, so I'm gonna go in by sections into each little bit. So you can see like where the root right here, see that? You could go ahead and separate that because that won't matter for now. And you could start working on your sections. So I'm gonna take this section right here. And I'm gonna start working on that section. But if you think about it, Tammy really did inspire a lot of doll clones out there, which kind of like leads you to understand like how much of a hit this doll was. She wasn't Barbie again, but she definitely was a hit of her own. So you can find them like still being made like in the 70s. Cindy from Pedigree, she was a Tammy clone. Although Ideal's relationship with Pedigree and Reliable is, out there because they did share molds with other companies. And don't worry, like if you don't get like some of the curls perfect, it's fine. We are going to style this obviously after. It's not going to look like this, but just so much so that you've got it like looking like a perm and stuff. That's really all that you need to worry about. But I will go ahead and then get this side done, and then I will be back to show you how I'm going to boil wash her. If you boil wash as often as I do, you need to invest into a proper kettle. I used to run up and down the stairs with boiling water, and now I don't have to. It just saves a lot of time and it's less of a hassle. So just remember, some hair types cannot stand boiling hot water. This doll has no problem because she's made with very high quality saran. There are some dolls out there that have very fragile hair types, so just be warned. Next thing I'm going to do is add some diluted gel to the hair. I love doing this after every single boil wash. It just really leaves the hair looking revitalized, shiny, and then the curl holds. Now her boil wash is done, and I'm going to tell you something about vintage saran. You don't need to wait for it to dry like you would for new saran. Look at that. See? You could just go ahead and take it out and it is good to go. It was just made differently. You see, back then saran dolls were promoted to where you could curl their hair. And now mind you, they didn't use boiling water back then. They used like little perm solutions made out of sugar and water. But its main focus and goal was to be able to be permed, curled, and set, because that was the style back then. I wish this type of saran was still being made today, like where it would just react very well, because this saran is very sturdy, but it's more wiry, so it's not like as buttery and creamy as today's saran. It is very wiry, but again, it could just be that that's the way it's aged. It is plastic, and plastic does age, but it's lovely. It's great hair quality. The way that it reacts also reminds me of Kanekalon in a way, where it's just very reactive to heat, but it doesn't burn or singe up or anything like that. It's just really good quality hair. There we go, see? It just comes out like so. There we go. Okay, now like I said, we're gonna get to styling it. So I'm gonna start here at the bottom. Just gonna brush these guys. Brush them together. And I'm gonna train the curls in a bit, but I'm just gonna brush them all together. Like so. Just form it. Just go ahead and form it. We'll train the curls here in a minute, but I just wanted to go ahead and form it into its little curl. Now, something about Tammy, she always came brand new in the box with like cellophane, so with plastic all around her head, and then she came with a bobby pin, and that would hold in her hair. So like the bobby pin would like hold the hair together in the back. And it wasn't like, it was like a legit bobby pin. It wasn't like made for Tammy or Barbie sized dolls or anything like that. It was just like a legit bobby pin. Okay. Just brush it out. There we go. So just gonna form the hair together. Do this. Just get it all to go together like so. There we go. Okay, and then whenever you feel like you've got it going where you want it to go, the bangs. Oh, these bangs. They're just gonna have to wait to dry. They're just a little bit too wet still. So we're gonna go over here to the back. This is gonna be hard to do, again, just because of how her body is. Now I'm going to go ahead and just start brushing this hair out. Put it around the end of my finger and curl under. This is training the bottoms of the curl. There we go. There we are, just training it. And again, like, you can go in and just keep training it. Form your curls. Go. Just form your curls like so. Curl it at the end. Now, Tammy, again, like when she was sold first, they wouldn't go like to this length to make sure that their dolls were really like that upkept. Like I said, they would have had a bobby pin in the back and it just would have been pinned back there with like a little plastic bag over top. But I do just kind of want to make her look really nice. Again, I'm just gonna go over here, brush it out. Have it go under the curl that is. There we go. Okay, so there you go. You have your cute little page boy. Now, if you would like to, you can go around and even try to like trim, do like some trim on some dead ends, make it look even nicer than what it already looks. I think it looks pretty good. So now let's get on to actually making her a outfit. Okay, so now that we have Tammy done, let's take a look at a pattern that I found right over here. Now, I've had this in my collection of patterns for maybe 10 years now, and it is literally a pattern specifically made for Tammy. You can tell just based on the artwork alone. This was not Barbie, and she clearly is fashioned to be a young lady. And she's got little sporty outfits. She's got an ice skater outfit, which I made this outfit a long time ago and I lost the pattern to go with it. So I have all of these patterns with the exception of this one, which is so unfortunate. But today I did a little scope and I was like kind of deciding between 3 items. This one, and this one. Now this one right here, I think I'm going to make, and I think it's such a lovely gown the way it looks. However, I think instead of white, I'm going to use pink, that pink, and instead of this little lacy look number, I'm going to add tulle, and I'm going to give it ruffles that cascade down. I'm gonna keep the bow. I think the bow's a really cute idea, and I'm gonna keep the little flowers too. But I want it to kind of be strapless, and then I want to add like a little bit of ruffle right around the bust area, just to give her a little, you know, a little something something, make it look like she's got something going on down there. She's very, you know.
Oh, God, there's absolutely nothing there.
So we're gonna make her look very glamorous so that maybe she could also be a prom queen. So I'm gonna show you all how simple this pattern is right here. Do you see how simple that is? That's absolutely insane. It's kind of flipped over. There you go. So these were made for the child, really, ultimately the child or the beginner sewer. These were not very hard to do, which is why I think that you all, if you all are interested in learning how to draft your own patterns, or if you're just interested in sewing at all, go ahead and check out these vintage doll patterns, because you can really make a lot of great items with these. Like for instance, I'm going to deviate away from the original design right here just a bit. I'm going to come up with my own design, and it will look nice from at least inside my head, like where I can see it. But again, like this is perfect. So if you have like your own idea of how to make something, maybe you don't know where to begin, go ahead and pick up some of these vintage doll patterns. Now, this pattern specifically was made for the Tammy doll. Tammy liked dolls like Mary Poppins, Patty Duke, Cindy. This would work well with Cindy dolls. This you could alter to fit a Barbie. There's no reason why it wouldn't fit a Barbie from that time period. But again, like you can find these patterns for maybe like $1 to even less than that, like maybe even some off of Etsy. You might be able to download a PDF file and print it out yourself at home, which would recommend, or just going out and then purchasing this like on eBay, which would be like $5 or something like that. But yeah, so like if you have an idea and you have an understanding of how you think you want your doll costumes to look, and or you just want to make some costumes like on a rainy day, or like, you know, just a day where you want to stay inside, go ahead and check some of these patterns out, because you will not be disappointed whatsoever. Again, this is supposed to be this little outfit right here, number 3, but there's only 2 pieces to this pattern. You cannot go wrong. Also, if you feel like you just don't know where to begin, again, this little piece of paper right here, this is the instruction manual, and it gives you a word for word of what you're supposed to do, second by second, stitch by stitch. And again, it's worded very easy. It is meant for a child or a beginner sewer. So there's really nothing that can stop you from making this costume. They also made patterns like this way back in the day for Barbie, and it was called So Easy Patterns. And they would literally be worded for a child, and it would give you step by step. And it's a fun and creative way to get you to learn. So again, you know, don't stray away from these patterns. Don't think that it looks too difficult, because it's really not. It gives you word for word what you're supposed to be doing on each page, and you really can't go wrong. And here we have Tammy in her new outfit all done. Now let me just say something. Although I did go off the pattern, this only took me 3 hours to do, like the whole thing. Now, 3 hours to some people can be a lot. If I had actually just done what the pattern told me to do, that probably would have taken me even less. And let me know if you guys would like me to do like a full pattern for Barbie and her friends of this era. I think it is so much fun. I have so many patterns. I've got Francie patterns, Ken patterns, and everything. And to be honest with you, like, you never know what you're buying whenever you get these patterns, because sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't fit, sometimes you have to alter them a little bit. Like this dress, for instance, did it fit perfectly by going off the pattern? Not really. There was a lot of give in the fabric, so they still do need to be tailored just a little bit, which you can either use a tape measure or your eyes. I use my eyes because like I've done this for over 16 years, somewhere around there. So I know my way around a doll and outfit, but yeah, I don't know. I wanted to do something that made Tammy look like extra pretty. I wish I would have gone ahead and record me actually making this. I think that would have been really cute. But to be honest with you, my phone is still low on storage because I've got 2 big projects that I'm working on at the same time. So they need to be done before I can show off like any extra bits. But yes, this is the outfit from the pattern that we cut out. We'll go ahead and give a 360. She looks really cute. I made her some pink pearls to go with. And let's talk about, like, her face is really sweet. Check that out. She looks very original. Her hair, very sweet, very cute. Now, the flowers are vintage. They're true vintage from the 60s and or 50s. And the ribbon is actually a satin ribbon from the 1940s. So this has been made with vintage fabrics. The tulle is vintage. The satin is vintage fabric as well. So it's all vintage, so that way it can kind of like go into the theme of who little Tammy is. Now, Tammy is, again, she's meant to be a more girl next door than Barbie. She's meant to more closely resemble a teenager that is more of a conservative look. So she's not as vampy and campy as the Barbie. However, I couldn't help myself but make her like this really pretty, like movie star-esque type of prom dress. And I didn't have to travel far because I do know the costumes of that period pretty well. I would say this is a very early 60s prom dress. I would say the one on the pattern would have been more of the time for Tammy, especially like what she kind of went for. But again, I was like letting my Barbie core energy just like peep into the Tammy. And I honestly, like, I think that this looks pretty good on her. I think it looks really sweet. But yeah, tell me what you think about this restoration. Do you have a Tammy that could use some TLC? Or maybe you have a Tammy that could use a cute little outfit? Let me know. And again, in the comments, let me know what you think about me making a whole pattern series where I deep dive into patterns, I make the clothes, and then we get to judge them on different bodies. So like vintage Barbie, a vintage Barbie clone, Tressie, Mitzi, a Tammy. We could all see like how they all work together and see what Barbie patterns work best for what doll, because each one is so different and each one, there's so much variety in them. And I would like to do it for each decade. I think that that would be really fun. I want to say thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for being here. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and please share so that all of your friends can see exactly what we've done here. I hope you find this video helpful and entertaining, and as always, I will be right back with you next week with some new content. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye!
Who is the girl with the sweetheart smile? It's Tammy, the ideal teen.
Who's got a sister and a brother too? The greatest mom and dad, guess who?
It's Tammy, Tammy. She's the ideal teen.
Tammy would like you to meet her family. 8-year-old Pepper's as pretty as Tammy, and Pepper's clothes are really neat. Brother Ted is 17, and Ted's clothes are wow. Here's Tammy's good-looking mom and dad. Tammy and Mom can wear each other's clothes. So can Dad and Ted. You can buy Tammy's family and all their wonderful clothes and accessories, too.
Who's got a sister and a brother too? The greatest mom and dad, guess who?
It's Tammy, Tammy.
Tammy's the doll with the most wonderful family.
She's the ideal teen.
So glad you came. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Remember, please discard all candy wrappers and popcorn containers in the nearest trash receptacle. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Are they all gone? Is everybody gone? Huh? Good.